This is my absolute favorite aquarium in the studio. And today I got the usual tools you'd expect to trim a bunch of Monte Carlo. I got a couple tools that you might not expect, a couple hacks on the way, and I'll show you those later on in the video. But before we get to this, how did we get here in the first place? So this started out as a classic riverbed build, and what ended up happening is not only did we have a little bit of a dead spot in the long tank, which is why it's always great to put a sponge or a bubbler in to break up that surface agitation or create that surface agitation and oxygenate the water. Not only did that exist, but also the CO2 ran out, and fluctuations in CO2, especially going from on to off for a period of time, can actually cause cyanobacteria, and that's exactly what happened in this tank. So I had a cyano breakout, I tried to treat it with ChemiClean, and ultimately I had to manually remove it all. It had overtaken the plants, the woods, the rocks, the whole thing. So I started over. So the second iteration of this tank was to add Anubias all over the spiderwood. I thought it could be a really cool, unique look. I liked it, to be honest with you, but what ended up happening is I got Anubias rot. And all the Anubias started to die, and the clear indication of that was floating Anubias leaves, yellowing in the roots. It was not going to be recoverable. It was across all of them. So I had to take those all out, and that's when the Monte Carlo became my third option on this tank. Now, initially, the Monte Carlo was just placed in separate little clumps across the spiderwood, but of course, you can see now, look at how much it's grown. So we're about to get started, and these are the tools I have. I've got the UNS spring scissors, I got the wave scissors, and I've got the curved scissors. And I'm going to potentially use all three of them for different applications as I'm getting around and under and through these pieces of wood. So we'll see how that goes. And beyond that, I've also got these, and I'm going to show you a couple hacks at the end on how this will work. Before we get started, you got to make sure you turn off the flow. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to dim the lights, and we're going to start trimming. All right, so at this point, I want to wait till as much of that Monte Carlo floats to the surface as possible. But during this, I'm going to not only use this to grab some, you see how much is caught in here, but I'm going to use it to blast some of it out. And that's the trick, to get all the loose Monte Carlo out of the clumps here to make sure that as much of it floats to the top as possible. It's been about 10 minutes. A lot of this has floated up. Some of the stuff that's caught in solution here, no big deal. The filter's gonna take care of that. So the classic move now is just to net it out. Here we go. Just trying to keep as much of this at the surface as I possibly can. When it comes to these little corners where the little leaves are gonna get caught and you can't get a net in there because of wood or filtration or anything like that, check this out. All right, I told you it wasn't going to look great after the trimming, but there is so much breathability in this plant right now. I can't wait till it blossoms again into a bright green, vibrant Monte Carlo on this wood. We've got some little floaters going around here with the filtration back on, no big deal. Little discoloration in the water because we blew some organics up into the water column, also no big deal. All that's going to get sucked up by the filter, no problem. No water change, massive trimming. On to the next one.